One of China's best hopes for a medal in hurdling trips, hobbles, and then hops across the finish line. We're going to go to Geoff Fowler. He is in London covering all of this for us. Jeff, tell us about this gentleman. He was one of China's best hopes and has been pretty famous in China's circles. What happened in the race?
Yeah, Liu Xiang is basically China's Michael Phelps. After he won gold during the Athens Olympics for this really one of the most difficult events of the Olympics, the 110-meter hurdle, he became a superstar, and he was one of China's biggest hopes during the 2008 Games in Beijing. But there was disaster in Beijing. He slipped and hurt his leg there, and he didn't even qualify. So today was his big chance to come back and prove and win glory again for China. But he did it again. He had the same problem, same injury, and he didn't make the final. He slipped and ended up being wheeled out of the Olympic Stadium.
So I
was there with a whole bunch of other Chinese journalists, and jaws dropped. I know our colleagues watching it in our Beijing bureau, as much of China was, all of their jaws dropped too. They just couldn't believe it. But this guy, who's really the superstar to China, would just screw up at the Olympics twice in a row.
What is the reaction in China to this? Because I know, some people probably are being very harsh toward him, but I wonder if he's also getting any sympathy from his fellow countrymen.
Mm-hmm. Well, the official Chinese state media are kind of playing this as as we should get behind this guy. He trained so hard. He is an example of the Olympic spirit. It's more than just winning gold. But I think it's also sort of relaunching a conversation in China about the kind of pressure that their system puts on these athletes. Unlike the U.S. and many other countries, China has kind of a state-controlled, state-run sports system where a lot of these athletes are chosen from a very young age, and they basically, their jobs or they work for the state, and they train for the Olympics. And that just puts an incredible amount of pressure on these athletes, and they feel it. I was just talking to a gymnast who won gold at the Olympics here for a routine he did today, and a Chinese gymnast, and he was saying that he felt incredible pressure going out there, and but he doesn't know any other system. It's the only one that he's grown up in. So the question coming out of these games, where China has actually done pretty well, is whether some of this discussion about the pressure will bring any change to that system. China doesn't like to change when it's doing well, but maybe Liu Xiang will become a model for how these athletes kind of maybe face too much pressure.
Jeff, do we know about the severity of his injuries at this point? Ruptured Achilles tendon? Any idea about that?
Yeah, I haven't gotten an update on that recently. That was sort of the initial diagnosis. He was, as I said, wheeled out in a wheelchair. That was the same problem that he had during the 2008 Games. But it was a little unusual because normally athletes all come through sort of a press area after they compete, and he did not come through it today. So we didn't get a chance to speak to him ourselves. So we'll definitely be updating our stories on WCA.com with any other details about what happened to him and his state.